How much time you need?
I think about 3.
3 minutes,
3
that's
minutes.
fine, yeah.
Honorable Mayor and council members, my name is Joe Coffey, and I'm a board member with San Bruno Mountain Watch. As you know, the proposed houses will be built on the habitat of 2 endangered butterflies, the Mission Blue and the Calliope Silverspot. The Habitat Conservation Plan is designed to protect such species, and the way it does that is to require the builder to compensate for the destruction of endangered species habitat by funding mitigation measures. I have looked at this funding, and what I have found is that the numbers don't add up. By law, the annual amount required to fund mitigation measures is specified in the HCP itself. The new amendment, HCP Amendment 5, sets that amount at $400,000 per year. That money is supposed to come from 2 sources. First, interest from the $4 million endowment, which will be used to establish a non-wasting endowment. This is supposed to yield $200,000 annually. Fees, the second source is fees or per-unit assessments from landowners, which is further broken down into fees specified in the original HCP that are applicable to all development. These fees on existing units yield around $130,000 annually, and fees specified in HCP Amendment Number 5 on new residential and non-residential construction. Fees on new construction is supposed to yield around $70,000 annually. Now, 2 things are problematic in this funding scenario. First, the fees specified in HCP Amendment Number 5 are not subject to inflation. I repeat that, they're not subject to inflation. And the second thing that's problematic is that the expectation that a non-wasting endowment will generate 5% usable income in this financial climate. It's shocking that the new assessments are not subject to inflation. This means that the purchasing power of the money will decline over time, decline dramatically. The per-unit assessment in the original HCP was $20, and of course it was subject to inflation. In 2007, having been adjusted for inflation, that fee was $44.28, more than double the original amount. Turning now to the other new source of funding, and that of course won't happen with the money that's coming in with the new development because it's not subject to inflation. It will just decline every year. Turning now to the other new source of funding, the $4 million non-wasting endowment. A non-wasting endowment is one sufficient to generate annual earnings equal to inflation-adjusted ongoing costs. This means that some portion of earnings is reinvested so that the endowment principal grows. In this way, earnings are sufficient to fund inflation-adjusted ongoing costs in perpetuity. How much real interest must an investment earn? Oh gosh, is that me already? Oh, it said red. How much interest must an investment earn to yield 5%? Which is what, of course, under this scenario, that $4 million has to earn. One study of non-wasting endowments used for conservation funds says that the usable part of the endowment's annual yield is only 52% of the total amount. The rest must be reinvested to preserve the non-wasting endowment. So for a $4 million endowment to have 5% usable earnings, it actually has to earn 9.4%. Is that a reasonable expectation in today's financial climate? And the situation may be worse. The trustees and operators of the San Bruno Mountain HCP are all California public agencies, and as such may be subject to Section 53600 of the California Government Code, which limits investments to more conservative instruments. The above-mentioned study suggests that non-wasting endowments under such rules can expect usable annual earnings of 2.2%. It is useful to look at the past history of HCP funding. According to the HCP plan operators, the funding was adequate for some years. But then the situation reversed itself. In a background memo on the San Bruno Mountain HCP funding program forwarded by Sam Hertzberg of San Mateo County to U.S. Fish and Wildlife personnel, it is noted that for the first 10 years of the trust, income exceeded expenditures. But beginning in fiscal year 1993-94, the trend reversed itself with expenditures exceeding income. And an SBM, San Bruno Mountain HCP budget showing actual and projected figures from 1999 through 2013 shows total available funds going negative in 2009. This is, I have copies of that. I sent them to you, actually, and that's from the county.
How much more time you going to need?
I have one more paragraph, and I
Okay.
appreciate your patience. This is not a good financial record. The present financial arrangements with exaggerated expectations from the endowment and no provision for inflation in the new annual assessments ensure that the future will be bleaker than the past. The butterflies deserve better. The people of Brisbane deserve better. I urge you to vote no on this EIR addendum. Thank you.
Thank you, Joe.